Okay, what should we do to stay in the middle path? Truth is, technically speaking, and some people aren't going to like this, I don't think, but technically speaking, we're not, and we never are in the middle path until the moment, maybe 2 to 3 thought moments, if I remember correctly. No, that's not even true. 1 thought moment. Only for 1 thought moment. And the maximum time a person can be in the middle path ever in their entire existence in samsara is 4 thought moments. Once when they become a sotapanna, once when they become a sakidagami, once when they become an anagami, and once when they become an arahant. If I'm not mistaken, and it seems quite unlikely that I am, technically speaking, we're only on the Eightfold Noble Path, which is the Buddha's definition of the middle way. What was I saying with that sentence? We're only on the Eightfold Noble Path for 4 thought moments. The only time that we're on the Eightfold Noble Path is the moment before, the first moment of realizing Nibbana. That's called the Magga Jnana. It's the Sotapatti Magga Citta. We learned this in Abhidhamma and we had to memorize it all. How does it go? I forget how it goes now. Sukha Sahagata. No. Piti Sukha Ekagata Sahitang Sotapatti Magga Cittang. That's the name of the first one. Vitaka Vichara Piti Sukha Ekagata Sahitang Sotapatti Magga Cittang. That's the first jhana citta for a sotapanna. If a sotapanna becomes sotapanna from the first jhana, then that is their citta. That's five factors: vitaka, vichara, sukha, piti, ekagata, and it's called the Sotapatti Magga, the path mind, and so on. And so there's 4 for each, or 4 for each of the jhanas. I got this wrong. 5 for each of the jhanas in the Abhidhamma. 5 jhanas, and 4 for each of the types of holy ones. So maximum one can go through them is 4 times. Go through the Magga Citta is 4 times. But it's each one is a different Magga Citta. So what does Magga mean? Magga means the moment, in that sense, Magga means the moment when you attain perfect balance. Perfectly balance the faculties, perfect, it's called anuloma. What we're trying to do until we get to that point is conform. This is called anuloma. The word anuloma is an interesting word, and I've talked about this before. Anuloma means, anu means according to, or in line with, or following. Following is probably the most direct translation. Loma is apparently, if I'm not mistaken, it's this line, the grain. Loma means grain. I have looked this up, but it's been a while. And according to my understanding, loma means grain. So anuloma means with the grain. They translated in the Visuddhi, in the path of purification, as conformity. But it means going with the grain. So, well, it means conformity, actually, better, easier to understand. Literally going with the grain, following the grain. But the meaning is conforming to the Dhamma, or the truth, or reality. Conforming to goodness, conforming to wisdom, conforming to the Buddha's teaching. And so in our practice of meditation, we're coming to see things clearer. We're not on the noble path. As we see things clearer and clearer and clearer, eventually we let go. Eventually all of the extremes disappear. We let go of them. And I think this is the best answer to your this part of your question, is that you don't stay in the middle path. You get there. And you get there by letting go. Think of it as like a person holding on like this. You can't see both my arms, but I'm holding on with both arms. So I'm being pulled this way, and I'm being pulled that way, because I'm clinging. But eventually I see that this is just causing me to become totally dizzy and off balance. And I let go with this arm, and I let go with this arm. And when I do that, what happens? Suddenly I'm no longer dizzy, I'm no longer swaying, I'm balanced. And so this is what we eventually do. And eventually we get so in the middle, it's kind of like we're in a tube, say, right? We're in this tube and we're clinging to the walls. We got all these tentacles going out. Eventually we let go and we just, boop, we slip out of the tube, right? We're stopping our progress. We're blocking our escape. It's like we're, those cartoons where they're trying to push the one guy out the door and he holds on or something, he puts his legs on either corner and he's on the door jamb and they're trying to push him out the door. That's what we're doing. And eventually you let go of this, you let go of that, you tuck your legs in and you go through the door. That's really what it means to attain the noble path. That's really what our practice is all about. There's so many things that we're clinging to, and that's really, it's not a secret, it's not strange, wow, this mystical thing called Nibbana or the Noble Eightfold Path. It just means, now you can go, now you're free, now you're not stuck anymore. So, sorry to break it to you that you're really not following the middle way, unless you've already become an arahant or at least sotapanna. But most likely you're in the stage of anuloma. And anuloma is two senses. One is where we're conforming. This is I don't remember, I think this is called anuloma jnana, but the technical anuloma jnana is when we conform. And conform is that moment where you tuck your arms in, tuck your legs in, where you suddenly fit, right? Oh, now he fits through the door, right? Like Winnie the Pooh when they stopped him from eating honey, right? He was stuck in Rabbit's door. And finally he fit. That one moment was when they could finally throw him out and into the tree with all the honey. And so good metaphor for Nibbana. Winnie the Pooh. Right? Remember the story? He's stuck in the door and then he gives up his honey, right? Boom! He goes flying into the honey tree. And suddenly he's in Nibbana. Right. But the point is there. Suddenly you fit. And that's the moment that is in another sense called anuloma jnana. The moment, the knowledge of conformity, or the wisdom that is marked by conformity, where finally you fit, you get it. Suddenly you're in line. Suddenly there's or you've at least you've let go for the time being. You've let go enough so that the mind can escape. The mind can be free. And that's the moment when the mind drops into Nibbana. At the first moment when one realizes Nibbana, this is called Magga Citta or Magga Jnana, just for one moment. And people wonder, well, why is it just one moment? Why couldn't it be 2 moments? It could never be 2 moments. The point being, it's totally technical. This is really for many people, it's a totally what's the word? See, I've lost all my language. It's a terrible explanation, and for most people, it's not what they wanted to hear. inadequate is the word. It's an inadequate explanation. Because, we hear about this noble path and the Buddha using it in a very much more conventional sense. But here we have this excellent teaching in the Abhidhamma about how to break it up technically. When are you on the noble path? For one moment. Why? Because what is the function of the noble path? The path is called the Dukkha Nirodha Gamini Patipada. The path which leads one to the cessation of suffering. What is it that leads one to the cessation of suffering? It's the realization of Nibbana. It's the realization of Sotapanna. And the Buddha said, Sotapati Magga, or the person who is on the path to become a Sotapanna. But there's two explanations here. I'll get to the second one in a second. But technically speaking, that moment is called path because it's the moment that changes you. It's the moment that removes suffering. Let's to be perfectly clear, we'll talk about at the Arahant level. When one reaches Arahata Magga Citta, at that moment, suffering is ended. And there is no more clinging in the mind, no more delusion. So the person can never fall back into suffering ever again. If you say, well, what about the second one? The second moment. So suppose the person enters into Nibbana, Nirodha, or however, for a day. The rest of the day is called Palanyana. It doesn't have the same effect as Magganyana because technically speaking it does nothing. What's done, the first moment did it, right? So technically speaking the rest of the moments are just fruit, Palanyana. They don't have any effect, technically speaking. They don't cross because they don't cross the barrier. They don't cross the line. There's that line that said, well, here you don't understand. And then boom, suddenly you understand. Well, one moment is enough. You saw Nibbana, okay. But people can stay in it for a day or even a week, they say. So that's the technical definition of what is Magganyana. Now that's called the Arya Magga. There is something else that is called Pubbanga Magga. And where this fits in, technically speaking, I'm a terrible scholar, to say the least. But Pubbanga Magga is the time before we attain the Magganyana, where we are trying to conform to the Eightfold Noble Path. So we're on a path, but it's called the Pubbanga Magga. And it is said that there are 8 factors to the Pubbanga Magga, and those are the same 8 factors: right livelihood, or right view, right thought, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right concentration, right mindfulness. They're all the same, but it's not the middle way. It's not the noble path, the noble eightfold path, not technically speaking. So probably the most important part of what I've just said, and I've said a lot, is that you don't try to stay on the middle way. You try to come closer to it and eventually attain perfect balance, a perfectly balanced mind. It doesn't come from trying to do a balancing act. It comes from letting go of the extremes. That's the other thing I wanted to say. When the Buddha talked about the middle way, and he talked about the 2 extremes, what he said is anupagama. He didn't go to those 2 extremes. Dve me bhikkhave anta pabajitena nasevitaba. I forget it. Anyway, he said, I didn't go to these 2 extremes. But ubho ante anupagama. Neither of the 2 extremes I went to them. That's how I attained the middle way. Ubho ante anupagama majjhima patipada tathagata abhisambuddha, and so on. So by not going to these 2 extremes, he attained the middle way. That's how you find the middle way.